So today on the Trend Sessions, we're going to be talking about a case which was made into a documentary in 2015, which is called Dream/Killer, which is actually available for you guys to watch now on Netflix. I wanted to discuss this specific case because this is a prime example of how the system is failing us in every way. So when we look at it as simply as this, so the system is corrupt. But what makes this documentary imperative to that fact is pure and simply this, that it will remain corrupt because there are corrupt individuals within it. So unless we remove these corrupt individuals, then nothing will change. But obviously, again, we'd have to, do a hell of a lot to get these motherfuckers out, apparently. This is, like I say, a prime example of someone that needs to be out of that system. And, the only thing I can tell you is I wish the Salem witch trials existed, because I'd have hung that bastard. Generally speaking, this is a channel about giving you educational facts. Not opinion and judgment, but in this case, you'll understand why I'm a little bit pissed off with this motherfucker. So anyway, simple case of this. Two Caucasian males, one of them called Ryan Ferguson, the other one called Chuck Erickson. Now, in early 2000s, there was a black, middle-aged, ish, maybe a little less, maybe mid-40s, something like that, male, found dead next to his car in a car park. Apparently, the police did their best to investigate this crime, never come onto anything, never had any leads, yada yada yada. So what then happens is, about a couple of years later, 911 get a phone call, and the phone call is simply this: I know who killed this man, I know how it was done, I know when it was done, and I know why. And this motherfucker was Chuck Erickson. So, as you can imagine, immediately he was pulled into the station. He was then questioned. But what he decided to do at the time was to also blame his friend, Ryan Ferguson. Now, Ryan Ferguson, again, the same age, they were about 17, 18 at the time. And now, this was a trial in 2005 being taken place for Ryan Ferguson, not Chuck Erickson. He was already handcuffed and imprisoned during this trial, because obviously he had admitted, yeah, that I did this, whatever. His district attorney, which supposedly is a judge as well, or at that point in time was a judge in training, he was his representative. His name is Kevin Crane, and I want you to remember his name, because it's people like that we need to get rid of. So as it goes on, this is, again, they're both young by this point, and the trial hits, they're 20 years old now at this point. The trial goes on, and what you come to find is that they lock up Ryan Ferguson for at least 40 years maximum. Okay? So, boom. He gets that sentence and he's in. And he maintains his innocence, but his father also does too, because he knows his son. And I'm one of those people, I can gauge you. I can gauge whether you did something or you didn't do something, or, it's just one of my abilities. And I can tell you now, this guy, Ryan Ferguson, did not commit the crime. So, from that day, his father never gave up, and that's what he intended to do. Never give up until his son, Ryan Ferguson, was out of prison. He was absolutely adamant in the fact that his son did not commit the crime. And at the time, they did have a shitty lawyer. They went through a few shitty lawyers, actually, after the main trial, like I say, that took place in 2005. So then what happened was, you know, on the outside, his father did anything and everything to get people to listen to him, to get his son out of prison. He literally worked and didn't stop for his child. You know, he was in one of the roughest prisons there could be. For example, you know, he himself was kind of letting us know that whilst he was in prison, you know, he could hear guards beating up prisoners on a day-to-day basis, and above him, he could hear people being raped. So, you know, that's pretty much something that is not going to leave you. So, during this process of, you know, Ryan Ferguson being in there, his father did everything he could. He hired a numerous amount of district attorneys and whatnot until they found the right one. She actually was somebody who was very passionate about what she did, you know, and had the morals that she did because of certain things that she had experienced and seen before. And she knew straight away that Ryan Ferguson needed to be saved. So it took him a few years to get Ryan retried. Because as they go along down the line, the two original witnesses that first testified in Ryan Ferguson's trial for the murder of this man, they were witnesses that Kevin Crane had manipulated and told them to say a specific thing when they took the stand. And that's why Ryan Ferguson ended up in prison. So this, during the time, you know, his father is trying to get him out. He's doing everything, like I say, to help his son in any way he can. He then engages with these two witnesses, and what he comes to find out is that both of them have actually admitted, I was told to say that by Kevin Crane. So, wait, you know, his father goes, oh, great, this is great, we can use this because then you guys can re-testify and you can, you know, tell people that you were made to say this by Kevin Crane. So, anyway, after however long, all of that, and they get the lawyer that is very good at what she does, he's retried. He's retried on conditions of, after, like I say, finding out about, you know, that these two witnesses were made to lie on the stand. You know, they had then kind of, you know, taken, well, Ryan Ferguson's attorney had then taken whatever to the judge and said, look, he needs to be retried because these two witnesses said that they were made to do this. So anyway, he was retried. And lo and behold, Kevin Crane was there. And he was one of the motherfuckers that was actually put on the stand by this female attorney that was on Ryan Ferguson's side. And like I say, by this point, he'd done at least a couple of years. 3 years, something like that. So, then, they put Kevin Crane on the stand, and she's kind of asking him questions. Did you or did you not, you know, say, get this person and this person to say or do this? And because he's a district attorney and also a judge, which I'm not even going to lie, is pretty, like, yeah. He knows how to work the system. He knows the words to use. He knows that, you know, no motherfucker, whether it be the world's highest paid attorney in all of the universe, he knew how to use his words to manipulate the final say. Even after the two witnesses were put on stand before him, that he had put on the stand prior, a few years ago, for Ryan Ferguson, they admitted that Kevin Crane made them say it on the stand, just before Kevin Crane himself was put on the stand. And their testimonies were simple. I was made to say this, he told me to say this, boom, that's it, done. Out of the park. So then, like I say, Kevin Crane, and then he gets tried on the stand, and it goes on, and he just acts like a smarmy little cunt, basically. So, as it goes on, then, the judge then decides, well, I've heard the testimonies of these witnesses and so on, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not going to do jack shit about it, because how can I trust these witnesses now, because they've already lied once? Bollocks. Absolute fucking bollocks. If you got proof of two witnesses of someone that is a legal attorney, a district attorney, someone that is almost got his badge of honour as a judge, if you will, and yet this motherfucker walks away. His life is not affected. His, licence doesn't get revoked. Nothing. His life remains standard and even higher. You know, he's still earning this, doing that, whatever, perfect happy life, home life, whatever. No. You'd think that he would then lose his licence. No, he didn't at all. He walked away. After sitting there like a smarmy little cunt on the stand, not even caring that you put an innocent man away. You put an innocent man away. That was it. Done. Over. Finito. So then his father realised, no, he's going to have to work a little harder in this. So, in the end, his father does a lot of things. He does a lot of things for his son on the outside to try and get him help. To try and, build a better case. To do this and do that. And it takes nearly about 9.5 to 10 years for his father to get Ryan Ferguson exonerated. And that is purely and simply because Ryan Ferguson did not do it. And I've told you in prior videos that nowadays evidence is actually dangerous because it can be manipulated. Someone could easily turn around and say to you, hey, that's your DNA. And you'd be like, yeah, but I ain't been there. Doesn't mean to say that someone could have taken your DNA and planted it there. Quite simple. And so on and so forth. And this was a case that did piss me off a lot, because it's people like Kevin Crane, because at the end of the documentary, you'll also see this motherfucker is sitting there giving an inspirational speech to graduates that actually are looking up to him. Disgusting. Absolutely disgraceful. It's sickening. It made me really angry, because how could this man do that to someone and the system doesn't even give him a violation of any kind? Not just a revoke or anything, not jail, not anything. He wasn't questioned for anything like he had done anything wrong. Now, one thing I can say How can you sleep at night? How can you sleep at night knowing you put away an innocent man? How can you sleep? And yet, this motherfucker didn't have anything in his life change except that he just excelled. And you want to tell me there's no fuckeries within the system? And the government, this is what I mean, you have to be aware that the government hide a lot of things up, especially when it comes to law enforcement. Because let's think about this logically. If you worked in some form of law enforcement and your child was Ryan Ferguson, what would you do? You'd do anything to get your child out. But you would use your abilities as someone in law enforcement to manipulate the system to do that. But if you're a human being like me and can read shit for what it is, then you don't even have to be in law enforcement to recognize the truth that someone is innocent, that someone's tampered with DNA or evidence, or, you know, it could be anything. So, you know, Ryan Ferguson, he did get out, yes, but he still endured nearly 10 years in a high maximum facility, one of the roughest, like I say. And he can never get those years back because of some motherfucker called Kevin Crane. And, you know, I wanted to discuss this case because actually he is what we need to get rid of. And so that's why, you know, if some of you don't know this story, you don't, you know all the details, whatever, I'm making you aware, and I will repeat it like subliminal messaging. Kevin Crane, he needs to be out. And if he has a family, I'm surprised they're not disgusted with him. I would not sleep next to that man at night if I knew what he had just done to someone. I wouldn't at all. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And it's infuriating, and I cannot even imagine. Those are years that you cannot get back. And the government or the system don't repay you when you're exonerated, by the way. You know, they just think, oh yeah, cool, you're going to serve 30 years. Oh, after trying to prove your innocence for 30 years, boom, you get exonerated. Dude, you've lost half of your life. You know, I take these things very seriously because this is why the world is what it is, because of judgment, not because of truth and fact. Fact and evidence now are not fact and evidence. And when I say fact and evidence, it actually means what it will bring up in the dictionary for that fucking word. But everybody else's interpretation within the law kind of system guidelines, that is a violation and a manipulation. It's misconstrued for them to win their cases, to get money. Money, money, money. That's all it's about. Kevin Crane is a motherfucker that deserves to have federal punishment on him. But he hasn't been touched. He has not been touched. And the $1 million question to me is why? Why? When we clearly have two people confirming that he made them lie on that stand. Does that make sense to you? Because it don't make sense to me. Sorry, I know I've ranted a little bit. As you can see, I'm quite passionate, but this did piss me off a lot because this, again, was, like I say, a prime example of exactly how the system fails. And all it takes is one motherfucker of a corrupt person called Kevin Crane, and I'm going to keep saying his name, because what we need to do really, and what, to make a difference in every respect that we can, in every way that we can to help others, is to get motherfuckers like him out. And we would have to bond together to do that. To petition him out, to get his license revoked, to stop this bullshit in the system, this corruptness, this violation of trust. If you can't trust your attorney, who the motherfucking hell can you trust in a case where you're entirely innocent and you're talking about murder charges, 1st degree, 2nd degree, manslaughter, capital punishment, capital crime, capital whatever? Nah. Simple and straightforward. Neither here nor there. As far as I'm aware, Kevin Crane is the one that deserves to be stripped of every human right possible, because he is not human. I've got more respect for the devil than I do this motherfucker. Absolutely more respect for the devil. And yeah, like I say, if you're curious about this man, I dare you to look him up, just to see how pissed off you'll get and how violated you'll feel to know that this situation occurs with many cases that aren't in the media. Obviously there are cases in the media that you guys know about, but this is one of those cases that wasn't specifically, majorly involved in the media. And voila, here we go. Government and law enforcement, all of that, co-ops, all the rest of it, secret agents, FBI, will keep what they can, for however long they can, quiet, if they know it's a violation in any formation. So I'd like to think that, there's a few of you out there that would, fight by my side too, to make a difference. And that's why I'm doing this channel. I'm doing this channel to educate, to make others really think about what it is they think they're seeing. And I say think because it literally is exactly that. It's not what you're seeing, it's what you think you're seeing. Because people are manipulating you into seeing certain things. So, again, Ryan Ferguson was innocent from day one, but he was dragged into a system because of one man. And, when you're young, like he was, he can't get his life back. He pretty much said, actually, in the documentary after he was released, that, he'd spent 10 years in there. He come out by the time he was like 30, and he was a man, but really and truly he was still a teenager, because he'd never lived like a teenager, because he spent those earlier years in prison.